Hello, Grandpa Jim. Yesterday was the yahrzeit of my mother, Eunice Ruth Bingham, and then when she married my father, Eunice Ruth Bingham Putney. It says in Mishle, in Proverbs, in the first pasuk, Tov Shem mi Shemen Tov Yom Hamavet Yom Hivaledo. The day of one's death is greater than the day of one's birth. It's good to be born, bad to die. Or is it? On the day of one's death, one knows how one's life has been conducted. Did I lead a good life? Did I lead a bad life? Did I do things that I shouldn't have done? Did I then do tshuva, repentance, so that I could stand up again? My mother led a good life from beginning to end. So, yesterday was the 9th day of Adar Sheni. My mother died on March 20th, 2005, which was the 9th day of Adar Sheni. My mother was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, and raised there in the year 2016. That's out in the middle of the country. I have a map somewhere. This is the United States. Here's Florida. Here's New York. Arizona's out there somewhere, about 3 changes of plane, and then out there. And this is Nebraska, smack dab in the middle, although Kansas would give you an ornament. My mother's grandfather, Charles, fought in the Civil War. He was a member of a New York regiment, New York Volunteers or Irregulars or something like that. He fought at the Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania, 1863. One of the bloodiest battles in the history of all people. After that, they were in Virginia, and he witnessed the execution, the shooting of a deserter. Somebody who was running away to sign up again and get more money and join the army again and again. And he wrote in his diary, "It almost made me sick, and as many as was seen at Gettysburg lying dead, it did not cast as much solemnity over the troops as that one man's death did." The man was a deserter. Our great-great-grandfather had seen horrible deaths, tens of thousands of people dead and wounded at Gettysburg, and yet witnessing up close the shooting of one man with his hands tied and with something over his eyes hurt him to his core. That's the kind of people we come from. How can we understand such things? How can we? After that, he went to Andersonville prison. He was captured by the Southerners. They put him in prison. I have a photo here. I'm not going to show you up close because there are children watching. If you Google Andersonville prisoner, you'll see this photo. You would swear it's a picture of Auschwitz. So how can we understand what people do to people? How can we understand the Holocaust? How can we understand Sarah Palin? It's all there for a reason. Prior to the war, great-grandpa was a whaler, sailed out of New Bedford, Massachusetts, on a ship like this, out to the Pacific, where they'd spend 2 years catching whales. Different sensibilities and other things. Going further back, one of our ancestors, the Reverend Thomas Hooker, you can see pictures of him, sailed from England in 1633. That's just 13 years after the Mayflower. And he was, among many other things, one of the founders, or the founder, of what is now the state of Connecticut. Connecticut. Mother started studying violin very early, around the age of 7. She went to the University of Nebraska, where she excelled in Latin and Shakespeare, and as well as music, and she graduated at age 20, Phi Beta Kappa. Smart. In 1938, she appeared on the Major Bowes National Radio Television Show, and it was a local performance. Major Bowes would go around the country and broadcast from different cities, every city over 50,000 in the country, it seems. And at the end, they would call in their votes, and Mom won. But she always felt bad about that, because a couple of times she's gotten a few dollars for playing the violin, and this was supposed to be a performance for amateurs, and she felt forever bothered by what she perceived to be dishonesty. But she had a love-hate relationship with music. She was forced to practice. She became excellent. She did very well, but it was very difficult for her. And she was probably somehow forced onto this show to some extent against her will. But she was an excellent violinist. She played the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto in college, which is universally acknowledged to be among the most difficult of the violin concertos. She subsequently played in the New Jersey State Symphony Orchestra. There was one group of people that my mother hated, and that was bigots. People who hate. People who would look at somebody by their religion, the color of their skin, their disabilities, their gender, their orientation, and hate them. That's who my mother hated. Not that she would ever treat such a person with disrespect. She didn't hate them. She hated their attitudes and their behaviors. I never once in my life heard a bad word about any group of people from my mother. They didn't have to tell us to respect all people. They showed us. One of my mother's favorite jokes that she told all the time was that there was a black woman who was hired to replace the cleaning person in an all-white church down south. And she went in on her first day, and she's sweeping away. And the minister walks in, says, "What you doing here?" He used the word. "Oh, Massa, don't take offense. I'm just cleaning up. I'm the new cleaning lady." "Well, okay, but don't let me catch you praying." You see, God wouldn't want to listen to a black woman. That was the attitude in those days. Maybe not just those days. My mother was a giver. She was a volunteer with the Visiting Nurse Association, who would go to the homes of people who were, I guess, sick, and comfort them, bring them stuff. You need a toothbrush, whatever. Just to cheer them up a little bit, help them any way she could. And then she became a music teacher in the Elizabeth, New Jersey public schools. And she concentrated in the what we call inner city, where all the black children lived. And she was loved by them and by the staffs and the parents. And she enjoyed that work. Politically, up to the early 60s, my parents were, I don't know, my father went to a Nixon rally. I don't know what my mother's politics were. Maybe she wasn't quite in a line with my father. I don't know. And they were members of the Presbyterian Church, which meant nothing to them. And then in the mid-60s, we started going to the Unitarian Church in Summit, New Jersey. And certainly my father's politics changed. And they became active in Amnesty International, writing letters to prisoners and to officials who had control over those prisoners. I guarantee you that today they would be vigorously supporting Bernie Sanders. Whatever values I have that I'm proud of, that I feel are good, and I think I can speak for my brothers as well. We have to thank our parents. At Eli's bar mitzvah, after the morning services were over, and we were walking into the dining hall, my mother was so impressed with the people on the surface and our friends. And I was walking with her and she said, "You know, Jimmy, I wish I had raised you to be a Jew." I said, "Mom, you did." Now, something I wanted to play for you at the end. It's a recording from 1938 of my mother on the Major Blues Show. I had to track it down from one place to another. Finally got permission from somebody in California to get a copy of the original, which was housed in the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. I will try to find a way to email that to you or post it on YouTube. I know that when my mother was received up high, she was well received. Love you all.